Are we ready?
Folks get down in front. We'll get ready.
They probably don't like these guys.
That's real great, sir.
Thank you very much. As all of you, I think, know, the minority whip, Lord Blunt from Missouri, and I work very closely together. And we don't always agree, as no one would expect us to always agree. But we always agree that talking to one another and trying to work in the best interest of the country, when we can agree, is an important message for us to send to the country, and an important activity for the leaders of the Congress to participate in. This issue that confronted the Congress of trying to make sure that our economy had the help it needed to stop its descent deeper into recession, to stop the hemorrhaging of jobs, and to get the credit markets moving again. We believed it was critical for the country. I'm pleased that we had the opportunity to work together. I want to congratulate the Republican whip for his success in increasing substantially the number of votes that we had on Monday. We increased the number of votes that we had on Monday. Much of that was because of the efforts of not only members and leadership on both sides, but also I know that Senator Obama, Senator McCain, and President Bush were making calls as well. And I'm very pleased that we were successful today. We are very hopeful and believe that this will have substantial assistance to our economy, to the financial markets, and to Main Street. I want to congratulate again the Republican whip, Lord Blunt of Missouri.
Well, thank you, Steny. And as you know, we've talked every day. In fact, I think every day this week I was trying to decide if I had a single day this week that my first telephone call wasn't either to or from the majority leader. And so that's how I started my day every day this week. And as good of friends as we are, I'm hoping that next week that's not going to be the case. It does seem to me that this whole discussion. What was the night we started this? Was it 2 weeks? Was it a week ago? Thursday. Just a week ago. It seems longer.
2 weeks ago Thursday.
Is that right?
2 weeks ago Thursday.
Paulson came over 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
2 weeks ago when we started this. 2 weeks ago when we started this. The last time I ate a vegetable was 2 weeks ago. 2 weeks ago when we started this, it does seem to me that we really got this discussion started in about as unhelpful way as we possibly could. Using words like Wall Street, bailout, illiquid assets was a formula for the kinds of concerns that developed around the country. I'm looking forward to the next couple of weeks where we all get a chance to talk to the people we work for and the people of the country about what the final product really did, how it really protects taxpayers, how I think it virtually ensures that taxpayers are investing at a level in the economy that they will not lose money in. And beyond that, we even put a provision in the bill that should guarantee that taxpayers don't lose money. The oversight, the transparency, not the 2.5-page bill that the Secretary of the Treasury brought up, but a bill that basically takes every belt and suspenders approach you can take to being sure that people are looking at this, that people aren't able to take advantage of the system. In fact, one of the things that I don't think I've shared with you yet that I put in the record today was a letter we got yesterday from the Secretary of the Treasury talking about rules that would relate to foreign entities, ensuring that only banks that are regulated to and doing business and financial entities in the United States would be part of this plan, and also strict rules so that people who are participating in one side of this plan would not be benefiting from the other side. Where you don't say, okay, here, buy my assets and let me manage them for you. I think those are the kinds of things that Congress has worked hard to see that it doesn't happen. Monday, we were working against a deadline unlike any I ever remember working against, where everybody in the building knew what time we were going to vote. I think today's approach was much better when we were both saying we're going to vote when we have got our job done and have the votes ready to go to the floor. And so we added a number of Republicans, as we should have, and on your side you added some votes as well. And I think our members are going home with a sense that the changes that happened this week, the SEC changes were helpful. And in fact, we have in the legislation a report now in the next 45 days that will actually monitor, as it turns out, these new changes that the SEC and the accounting folks have just said banking institutions should be using. Monitor them, see what kind of job they're doing, if more needs to be done. Clearly, the FDIC insurance edition, every member of Congress, or most members of Congress by today, had some story from their district where people were coming in and taking money out of their account if it was over $100,000. And when that money goes out of the account, particularly if it goes home, not only is that a dangerous thing, but it's obviously no longer there to loan to somebody who you want, who you're in business, what you're in business to do, take people's money in, loan it out. So I know we're all relieved to be beyond where we were yesterday. I think the members are going to have the opportunity now over the next couple of weeks to be talking about what we did rather than what the country had been led to believe for several days we were going to do.
Thank you, Roy. Any questions?
I'm wondering if you both could address whether, what role you think the extenders played in getting members to switch, or was that not necessary?
I think the extenders, frankly, was a mixed bag in this sense. There were many people, particularly on my side of the aisle, who were very concerned, as I was, about the fact that the extenders came back to us only partially paid for. It was a $148 billion package, approximately 40-some-odd million paid for, $107 billion in additional debt. And a lot of the so-called blue dogs, the more fiscally conservative Democrats, were very concerned about that, as I was. I think most of them, as a matter of fact, I think all of them that voted for it originally voted for this package, and then some, because they believed that taking this action was so critically important for our economy that they were not going to allow their opposition to the unpaid-for provisions that were added by the Senate to have them vote no. I might say that most of the items that were sent back to us were sent over to the Senate, paid for by the House. So the House, not only did a number of members believe that was the proper stance for us to take, but the House had voted to take those stances. Mental health parity being a specific example. Very, very strong support for the mental health parity on both sides of the aisle. Patrick Kennedy and Jim Renstead in particular worked very hard on that. So it wasn't that anybody was opposed to that, but it came back for essentially not fully paid for, and that was of concern. But my view, as I said earlier, was that in spite of that, members voted for this bill because they felt it was critically important to do so.
Did the Senate kind of bully you on the tax extenders? They steamroll their version through?
You want to think about that while I answer? Your answer's short, right?
No.
On our side, this is one of the issues that Steny and I really disagree on. The extension of good tax policy, current tax policy, doesn't need to be paid for, in my view, and that's a very legitimate debate that we have. Our members generally would have rather seen that bill, I believe, separately, taken that vote straight up if it was possible to do that, and then take the other vote straight up. We probably had as many people say, this is just looks so much like the way Washington does business, I really don't want to do it now, as we had people who said, okay, that's another reason I'll give it home. But I suspect a number of our members will say, by the way, you do realize that the people that were now protected from slipping into the AMT, the alternative minimum tax trap, the people that would have lost jobs because of research and development that I was able to help with that, they'll be saying as part of their vote. I was pleased to vote for it. I would have actually preferred to vote for it as a second piece of legislation, but we weren't given that choice.
And I think have a very significant difference of opinion on whether or not a tax